Allison from AllisonReeves.co. I was going to try to go live on Instagram, but I think I messed it up. Maybe next time. This morning, I just wanted to talk a little bit about why the nervous system matters for manifesting and for an abundance mindset. I talk about this a lot, and I've got a lot of resources on this. I've got a bunch of blog posts on this, but I'm launching the Art of Financial Flow, which is a new masterclass series. And I've got a giant manifesting course called The Holistic Art of Attraction. I have a bunch of smaller mindset manifesting resources. And this new masterclass series is going to be somewhere in the middle. So I want to talk about kind of what's going to go into that, like what you're going to get out of that program by teaching you a couple of principles. So there are, when you think about mindset and manifesting, some of you may lump those into the same bucket. Some of you may have those into two separate buckets. But when I first started learning about manifesting, I was learning about mindset specifically. And I had a lot of results by focusing on mindset. So the way that I learned about mindset was to come up with a vision for my life and to focus on what it would look like for that to become a reality, to think about what that would feel like. And the main takeaway that I got from learning mindset was that before a certain income level in your business, no strategy matters more than self-belief matters in your business. And I found that to be true to a certain point. So when I first started learning about mindset, I was working through limiting beliefs. I had a vision for my life. I was thinking about how that would feel. I ended up having some of the highest income months. Well, I did have the highest income months I'd ever had up to that point. And it felt miraculous. And then when I was teaching those strategies to my own clients, I was seeing the same results with them when they were increasing self-belief, when they were working on a vision for their life, when they were thinking about the number of sales they wanted to get, what that would feel like in their body, what that would look like in their bank account. That did work to produce really miraculous results compared to what they'd gotten with strategies. And what I found for myself is that mindset, I was hitting this wall. So I felt really good, had some really good results. And then after a certain period of time, I was struggling with money anxiety again. And that anxiety was preventing me from problem solving in my business. It's really hard for me to sell and market when I'm having a lot of anxiety. And it also impacts that energy of anxiety around money that will come through in your marketing. So it kind of like pushes buyers away. And I found the same thing happening with my clients, where they would have these big financial wins because of the mindset work that we did together. And then at some point they would start to struggle again and hit a wall with their self-belief or their vision or whatever. And we couldn't get past it. I couldn't help them. I couldn't talk them out of it, which is what mindset work does. It's all up here in your head. And so in 2022, I discovered breath work, and I heard the word somatic for the first time. And I realized that that was the answer to having mindset be deeply embodied and work consistently, was the somatic work, was embodiment, was getting control over my nervous system. I didn't yet know what that meant, but I ended up signing up for a somatic coaching, like year-long certification program after doing a lot of research and trying to find what that met certain criteria. And that changed my life. So when we think about your own processing power, like when I think about my processing power, your head is just this much of how you perceive the world, your brain. And obviously your brain is a very powerful organ in your body, but you also have your nervous system, which travels throughout the rest of your body. So if we're trying to learn a concept, or if we're trying to embody an abundance mindset, and by embody, I mean not just know it up here, but really feel it and live it without effort, we've got to involve our nervous system. So what would happen with me was I would work on my mindset, see some results, and then I would start getting anxiety again. And for me, I called it my anxiety cyclone, because once I started to spiral, sometimes I couldn't get out of it, and I would spiral all the way to the bottom, and that would impact my sales and my marketing and my self-belief and my life. It was very emotional. And when I started learning how to regulate my nervous system, I started being able to stop that cycle. So instead of having to bottom out all the way down and then get support and be able to come back up again and heal, I was able to stop the cycle, relax, and then go back up again into abundance, ease, just relaxation in general. So if you don't work on your mindset, you're not going to, I like to say, if you don't believe that the strategy will work, it's really hard for the strategy to work. So we work on our mindset first. We work on self-belief, creating a vision for your life, and then working through those limiting beliefs. And it's all up here in your head. And then once we have that foundation, then we work with the nervous system for two reasons. Number one, we work with the nervous system to learn emotional balancing so that when you start going into the spiral, you can stop it and calm down, because manifesting requires that you have a positive energy, that you stay in the energetic state of the things that you want. But if you are afraid to feel, or you don't have control over your feelings, it's really hard to stay in that energetic state. And this doesn't mean that you have to feel good all the time. It just means that we have to be able to control the anxiety cyclone and the triggers and all of that, which is really hard to do if you're afraid to feel, which our society, Western culture, very much does not focus on making us comfortable with feeling or affirming that feelings are okay or any of that. And then we also want to work on the nervous system for somatic healing, which I'll get more into in the Art of Financial Flow program, and also way more into in the Holistic Art of Attraction program. But with somatic healing, so now instead of just being able to calm down and stop the spiral, we can also go into triggers and figure out what our needs are. So here's what somatic healing can look like, or somatic coaching can look like. So I've got a client and she's having a hard time making money in her coaching business. She'll do $10,000 a month here, and then she'll do $0 months. And it's just this constant up and down. So when we dive into that in her body, we let her feel the feeling of the craziness. She feels it in her chest. So we let her feel it all the way in her chest. And then we ask that part of her, what does she need? And that part of her needs for things to be, she needs safety, or I don't know what the need is. We haven't finished our session, but this is just an example. The need is safety. So if she needs safety, and what's happening is her nervous system feels unsafe, either because of, and this is the thing, because of lack of success, or because of the success, because the success is something that she'd never experienced before. So even the good things that happen to you can dysregulate your nervous system. So she needs safety, whether she's needing the money or whether she makes the money. Her nervous system needs safety. So then we lean into, when was a time that you felt safe? Well, when I was sitting on my couch drinking my coffee this morning with my cat in my lap, I felt totally safe. And so then leaning into that feeling somatically in the body, we get to practice that. So now if I practice every morning when my cat sits in my lap, I'm not just going to enjoy that moment. I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to make sure that I feel that moment fully in my body. So now when I have a moment where I've made a lot of money, I feel unsafe. I'm not making enough money, I feel unsafe. Now when I have those moments, then I can balance that with what I know it feels like to feel safe. So I'm giving my nervous system the tools that it needs to resource back into neutrality. And then when we can resource back into neutrality, we can stay high vibe, which is in the vibration of the things that we want. And so now that we've worked on mindset, we have that foundation of self-belief, vision, working through limiting beliefs and what's possible. Now I've worked on the nervous system, so we can use triggers to become resources and balance out. And, I'm not a trauma practitioner, but this practice of like leaning into how you feel, identifying what you need, and then just practicing getting that need met, that does help to relieve trauma, which can help you stay in a neutral and or positive state. Now we can work on manifesting. Now we can really work on all those things you've heard about on how to manifest, which is, I talk about a little bit in the mindset, but it's like thinking about what you want, feeling into what you want, trusting that it's going to come. Well, the thing about manifesting and that trust is that it requires faith. And faith takes a lot of courage because you can't see it. There are times when you're manifesting, and this is whether you're already successful and you're trying to pivot and go in a new direction, or you're not successful, you're not as successful as you want to be, and you're trying to get to the next level. This is true either way. It requires faith in something you haven't experienced before. And that faith requires a flexible nervous system, because that, like, overcoming fear requires resilience. And so we can't really practice energetics very easily, even though I could practice all of these things before I learned about somatic work and regulating my nervous system. But it sure was a lot easier when I felt safe in my body. When I first started practicing somatics, I couldn't feel that much in my body at all. Now it's really easy for me to pause and say, where am I feeling that? What do I need? But in the beginning, I couldn't feel anything. And that might be true for you too when you're starting out, because we don't feel safe. Many of us don't feel safe feeling. So when I have the anxiety around money, in the past, what I would try to do is just avoid it. And then that just, I'm trying to avoid it, but I'm still attracting the content of my thoughts and feelings. And so I'm going into the spiral. Whereas now I feel safe looking at it, feeling it all the way through, and then coming up with a resource for it. And we need that many of us need that in order to manifest. So if you've ever looked at someone who manifests really easily and wondered why it's so easy for them and why it's so hard for you, one reason why might be because they feel safe in their body. They can feel really easily. That's one thing I notice about Amanda Frances, who's a decently large money manifesting teacher. And I notice when she teaches, like, she can tap into her body really, really quickly and easily. And she teaches great things about manifesting, but not necessarily like how to feel or how to feel safe feeling. And that's part of what I want you to get out of this Art of Financial Flow. So in Art of Financial Flow, whether you buy it or not, I think you can get a ton of resources on my website and on my YouTube channel. But in this program, we're going to go deep into the mindset. In a lot of the courses I have in the book, Embodied Abundance, I talk about the wealth wounds. So we'll go into those a little bit. But I want to give you some new ways of looking at mindset so that we're not kind of rehashing the same old thing. And then creating a vision, improving your self-belief. That's all a part of mindset. And then the next step further is to go into the nervous system. So I want to give you tools to help you really embody that self-belief. And then the next step, which I didn't talk about in this video, but we'll get into in the program, is creating your aligned like wealth path or abundance path. Because for some of my followers, you're entrepreneurs, you're stacking your income, you're creating your own offer. Whereas for some of my audience, and probably a smaller percentage of my audience, you're working for yourself or working at a company. And so what I didn't realize when I was in my full-time career is that you can actually still control your abundance, even if somebody else is the one paying you. And so I want to give you tools and resources to where, like, if you have a full-time job, you can still make manifesting work for you. You don't have to necessarily be an entrepreneur. What's important is that you increase that self-belief. Like, if you don't believe it can work, then it's going to be hard to work. So a lot of people get into entrepreneurship and as a way to make more money because it's easier for them to see how that's possible, right? Because you have more places the money can come in from, etc. But it is possible with a full-time job as well. So I want to give you guys options for creating your own abundant wealth plan. So hopefully this is helpful. You can go to, I'll put the link in the chat here, the Art of Financial Flow on my website. The price is increasing, but it will still be available forever. So I'll just put that in the chat if you're here live. And I will see you all around on the internet very, very soon. Thank you so much for joining.